Okay, so check this out. There's this ancient warrior who is in the middle of this battlefield, and he's having this emotional breakdown. The reason why he's having this breakdown is because he actually is looking out at the vast army of his enemies. Upon looking out, he sees the faces of his grandfather and his cousins and his mentors and the men who trained him how to fight. He understands that this army is standing for evil things. They're full of greed and jealousy, and they're trying to take this kingdom. And he throws himself on the floor, on the battlefield floor, in despair. And he pleads with God, and he says, if I kill them, I'll be evil too. I'll be deserving of hell. Because if I kill them, I'll be ending my family lineage. I'll be cutting myself off from the ancestors. And what God says next is interesting. Okay, guys, welcome back to another episode. So it's been a while since we have, talked. I wanted to get this on, I wanted to make a video to discuss a couple of things before we jump into the actual content of the video. I want you guys to know that I'm going to be posting differently on the Watchwell podcast here. I was actually going to shut the channel down for a while, but then I started to think, I could probably, I don't know. Long story short, I started feeling just kind of a push from God to kind of take the channel in a different direction. And I was actually going to, like I said, going to shut it all the way down. But then I thought, well, maybe I could do this. So what we're going to do, and I know that a lot of you subscribed, we're really into the movie thing, and that's great. But what I want to do is I want to take a break from movies for a while. And I want to get more into just strictly apologetics. And I want to go through actually go through other religious texts. We'll do, and really learn what the religions are offering, how they're trying to solve sin, how they're trying to, solve the issue of, fallen humanity and what actually makes you right with God and all these different things. So I want to do that. And I want to see how that works. And also I want to do it because I want to document my journey as I go through this so that later I can watch it back and, see the growth. So if you guys are interested in going on that journey with me, I would love to have you, obviously, you subscribe and do all the things. But I do want to take a break from movies for a while. We actually just moved. So that's why this is another reason why there's been such a long gap between posting. My wife and I and our 3 kids moved from Ohio to North Carolina, and that took a lot of time. So obviously you can still see boxes back there behind my head. So we're still in boxes. We finally got our house and we've moved in, and we're establishing a church now, so that's all great. But yeah, I've really felt just this gravitational pull to dive more into apologetics. Use my skills as a communicator and my heart for people to communicate the gospel, the actual true gospel to them. But in order to do that, I really think there is some merit into actually understanding what they believe. Not a straw man version of it or anything like that, because we would pounce on people that would straw man Christianity and try to evangelize us to their religion. So I really want to give it their due, really learn the actual religion, and then take the truth of Scripture to it and witness that way. So that's what we're gonna do. So I don't know if you could read through the lines between the opening hook, but this is what we got going on first. So we're going to be going through this, or at least I'm going to be going through this. And if you join me, you'll be going through it as well. I don't think I'm actually going to read it on camera for each of the things. I'm just going to talk about the main points and then my thoughts as a Christian reading this, going through it, and then we're going to build. So just remember, there's snapshots, there are opinions and snapshots of the chapter, and then the research I do around that as we go through. So it's very probable that as I go through, these episodes, that my thoughts will be answered in later episodes. So just keep that in mind if you're watching this. I'm gonna be giving thoughts, and then we'll see. So it's just one chapter at a time. I'm not gonna go find an answer or whatever. I just kind of want to see it build and see how that works. So chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is a sacred text of Hinduism, is called The War Within. And if I'm looking off camera, it's because I'm referring to some of my notes. So, just a normal Christian nerds book club here. And we're going to be going through other religions, which doesn't make any sense. It does, but it's kind of funny. So in chapter 1, we've got two royal families here. And we have two royal families, but they're from the same bloodline. Okay. And I'm going to really struggle with some of the names of these people. It's really hard to pronounce. And but ultimately, you've got this civil war happening between this one bloodline and two different royal families. One side of the kingdom has stolen this kingdom, and the other wants it back. Like I said, it's a family. So it's like this family civil war, and they're fighting over this kingdom. And the battle is happening, and chapter 1 sets the tone. The battle is happening, and the armies are assembled, and they're out on this battlefield. And before anything happens, our main character right here, Arjuna, walks to the middle of the battlefield, and he essentially has an emotional breakdown. Is what it sounds like. He's in this deep despair, and he falls to the ground, and he pleads with Krishna, Sri Krishna, his problem. And his problem is this. He is going to war against his family. And in Hinduism, they have this concept called dharma. The closest definition of dharma, and this actually took me a little while to understand because, at first I was like, oh, maybe it's kind of like fate or something like this. But dharma can be contradictory, I think, in a way, is what it kind of sounded like. So the closest definition is the right action for the right person in the right moment based on who you are and what role you're in. So, for an example, a surgeon's dharma is to perform surgery and to cut things, right? To perform that duty. But the same person's dharma at home with their kids is to be present. And you can even be contradictory because a surgeon is supposed to be in surgery, and that's his dharma, is to be doing surgery. But if that person is also a father, his duty is to be at home with his kids and raising his kids, which are two contradictory things. You can't be in the two places at once. So that took me a little bit of a minute to get my head around. Dharma operates in layers. Your dharma as a human is your duty based on your role, your duty based on your life stage, duty based to your family, your personal duty. And like I said, these layers can contradict each other. Arjuna is trapped between the two layers. So remember, we'll take us back to the battlefield here. So Arjuna is in the middle of this battlefield, and he is really struggling because he says, in one sense, as a warrior, my dharma is to wage war, is to fight. But even though those people are evil, as I look upon the faces of the people that I'm supposed to be fighting, the evil ones, the army that is the evil ones, I am constantly seeing my cousins and my grandfather and my teachers and mentors, the people that I've loved and have trained me for battle and have mentored me through life, raised me. And even though they're evil, if I kill them, I am severing myself, I think it would be my family's dharma from the traditions of our family lineage, which connects us back to our ancestors. And that is evil. And even in chapter 1, it says the person that does that, let me see if I can find it here. The person that does that dwells in hell. Let me see where I can find that here. Because let's start here, because in 38 it talks about how they're overpowered by greed, this evil army. They see no evil in destroying families or injuring friends. So then it says in 40, it says when chapter 1 verse 40, it says when a family declines, ancient traditions are destroyed, and with them are lost the spiritual foundations for life, and the family loses its sense of unity. Where there is no sense of unity, the women of the family become corrupt, and with the corruption of its women, society is plunged into chaos. Social chaos is for hell. Social chaos is hell for the family, and for those who have destroyed the family as well. It disrupts the process of spiritual evolution begun by our ancestors. The timeless spiritual foundations of a family and society would be destroyed by these terrible deeds which violate the unity of life. It is said that those whose family dharma has been destroyed dwell in hell. So, chapter 1 really making some bold claims here. Now, it's not like, so like this idea of family dharma is heavier than it kind of sounds. So it's not just like respect your elders. It's an entire system of like religion, I guess, or spiritual, whatever it said, a spiritual tradition. And it's passed down by like through rituals and traditions and marriage customs, funeral practices, vows from one generation to the next. And breaking it doesn't just hurt the living, it severs the connection to the dead. So Arjuna, because of all of this, he's got these two contradictory dharmas. He's got the family lineage dharma, which needs to keep the family lineage alive and perpetuating these traditions and passing down these spiritual beliefs and being connected to their ancestors. And then he's also got this warrior dharma where he needs to fight and he needs to perform the battle. So because he's in this despair in chapter 1 and he's so he sees these two conflicting dharmas, these contradictory dharmas, he drops his bow and refuses. He like essentially gets this like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to drop the bow and I'm not going to fight. And he's pleading with Krishna. So now, here are my thoughts of chapter 1. And again, I'm going to be referring to my notes. He is just completely wrapped in this contradictory dharma. And to me, it seems like we're setting the stage for like this idea of family. My first thought was that family is outweighing justice. If this, like at the beginning of chapter 1, there's this claim. It's a truth claim. It's a morality claim is what it is. And the claim is that this army full of family members and mentors and teachers are evil. And Arjuna is making the claim that, well, even though they're standing for evil in this moment, they still deserve honor and respect because they raised me and they were my family. And deferring back to that family dharma of perpetuating the family lineage and keeping it connected to the ancestors and those that passed and keeping the traditions alive so that society can flourish, it cripples him, right? And I couldn't help but thinking that, like, even though that, you know, the Bible is very clear on the family, and you know, it's the molecule of society, and it's what societies are built on. So there's similarities there, but where it kind of goes awry is this whole idea of like, you still have, like, you can still make an objective claim on evil, and you know, we should not allow evil to continue. And as I was reading chapter 1, it was just really confusing, because in Christianity, we have this, we have the Bible, right here. So we have the Bible, and this is like God speaking, right? This is God speaking. So we obviously, even like in some of our confessions in our faith, the Bible, like what is the Word of God? The Word of God is the Old and New Testaments. The Holy Scriptures are the Old and New Testament, the only infallible rule of faith and obedience, right? So like this is in our confessions. So when you're talking to a Christian, and I would even say if you're talking to a Muslim, the Quran is their rule and governance of faith, right? That along with the Hadiths. So it's like if you're going to pin a Christian or a Muslim down to the mat and be like, okay, what do you actually believe? You can defer to their scriptures, and then you can hold them to that because that's binding on them. But this is just this is just like a sacred text. From what I'm understanding, and again, if you're a Hindu and you are a practicing Hindu, please jump in the comments and let me know, because I'm still trying to learn and I'm trying to do it justice. But it doesn't sound like this is like a binding holy book. This is just a sacred text to show the battle of Arjuna and the family bloodline over this kingdom. And it teaches moral things. It teaches good things, but it's not binding. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm getting from chapter 1 so far. It doesn't sound like hell in Hinduism is the same. And this kind of bleeds into chapter 2, because it talks about Krishna's response to Arjuna. But it's not like hell is this place. It's like you are paid back in your karma. So like if you do good things through rebirth, you'll through your rebirth and this this good karma that you have acquired over many, many lives, it seems as if you can build up enough of that to where you can reach this higher ascent of intellect and knowledge and spiritual spiritual ascent, I guess. And that's how you gain wisdom and, I guess, righteousness. So it's like what you do in terms of good deeds allows you, through rebirth and acquiring that over and over and over again through many, many lifetimes, you'll ascent to this higher level of understanding of the universe. And that is what they equate to some sort of wisdom or paradise, something or other. I don't know. We're only in chapter 1, but that's kind of where I see that going. It's also built on a caste system. And that's the other thing. So like it's talking about this family dynamic, right? And you can't break the family lineage. And through my research, it seems as if a woman marries a Hindu man and takes on his family's dharma, I think, is what I'm gathering. And as marriage happens, so it's like she takes on it. But what happens with divorce? What happens with adoption? I guess maybe they would say that also is similar, where they take on that family's dharma. But intermixed families in terms of religion, like I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Vivek Ramaswamy is a Hindu and he's married to a Catholic woman. Like I think that would be some sort of her rejecting his family's dharma and tradition, and it doesn't seem like it would work in Hinduism in terms of, like, I think in Christianity we would say that this would be some sort of like apostasy, or like this would be ruining like the system. Like if you're to perpetuate the family dharma, the lineage, if that's the dharma of the family, is to perpetuate the lineage and the traditions and the religious teachings from the ancestors, and then you have someone come in here and now you have a duality of religions inside of a marriage, then that would in some sense would sever that family lineage. And I mean, it says you would, for those that do that, they will dwell in hell. But we haven't gotten to really what hell is yet in the words of the Bhagavad Gita. So let me see if I can find it here. War within. So it says, though they are overpowered by greed and see no evil in destroying the families, blah, 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 blah. So, social chaos is hell for the family and for those who have destroyed the family as well. It disrupts the process of spiritual evolution begun by our ancestors. The timeless spiritual foundations of family and society would be destroyed by these terrible deeds which violate the unity of life. It is said that those whose family dharma has been destroyed dwell in hell. This is a great sin. And that's the whole point. So like the whole point of chapter 1 is that Arjuna doesn't want to fight the battle because he doesn't want to kill his family members that are on the opposing side of the battle, because the one who does that will dwell in hell, because he'd be severing he'd be breaking the family dharma. So it sounds like there's a little bit of like family over some sort of righteousness. It's righteous to stamp out evil and to not allow, what's the quote where it's all that it takes for evil to exist is for good men to do nothing, right? And we're also, that brings up another point for Arjuna. We're not even told, at least I don't remember being told, other than he's just a great warrior, any of his history. Maybe we'll get to that later in the book, but like, why is he so righteous? And why is he like, does he sin? Is he some sort of like demigod that doesn't sin? Like, why is it him pleading this, this problem to Krishna? I don't know. So let's talk about our 3 questions. So at the end of each of these videos, we're gonna have our 3 questions. Feel free to jump in the comment section and hash these out respectfully. But this is what I would ask. So I would ask, if your duty to your family and your duty to justice are pulling in opposite directions, which one is actually right, and who gets to decide which one is right? Number 2. Can you respect someone and fight them at the same time? Arjuna says these men are worthy of reverence, but standing on the side of evil. Is it possible to honor someone and oppose them in the same breath? And then number 3, Arjuna calls his refusal to fight a moral stand, right? So he's like, okay, morally, I'm not going to kill this army because it contains my family members, and I'd be breaking my family's dharma, which some say those that do that dwell in hell. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make a moral stance. And as we see in chapter 2, which I'm not fully finished reading yet, but as we see in chapter 2, God, Krishna, which is the physical manifestation of God, I don't know if they would use the word incarnate, but at least a physical manifestation of God, Krishna says that Arjuna is being a coward. So how do you tell the difference between conviction and fear when they look the same from the inside or whatever? Like, there's just a lot of moral claims in chapter 1, and there's not a whole lot of grounding in who gets to decide what is moral, what is good, what is evil. It's just kind of open in this kind of, it's just kind of floating in the air. There's no grounding. And that's really, really tough to understand because, like I said before, the Bible is explicit. Like, as a Christian, if you identify as a Christian, you will do Christian things, and the Christian things are defined by the Bible, right? We see this. A good tree bears good fruit, a bad tree bears bad fruit, and fruit, doing those actions, the bearing of the good fruit, those good works proceed from a regenerated or a new nature that's given to you by God, right? God, like by faith. So like you have this faith, and through that faith produces good works, right? And this is setting this up to be like the good works are what bring about a intellectual assent about the universe, or some sort of greater wisdom. So if you guys have answers to those 3 questions, drop them in the comments. Again, guys, sorry for, not posting for such a long time. The break was actually really healthy. We did move, and I just wanted to drop this video to just see if anybody else would be interested in this stuff, because I know I am. So I'm going to go through the Bhagavad Gita. I'm going to go through other Hindu texts and just really do a deep dive into the religion. But despite doing that, I want to make it very clear: Christ is king, and the Bible is true, and people that follow the Hindu religion need Christ. That's why we're doing this.